That's my second talk today, and I'm going to be talking about community. Again, I didn't understand how I was introduced, but so I'm a developer advocate at Liferay. And developer advocate means basically I go to places like this and talk to people like you and try to figure out what is it that matters to you. You may actually ask, why is that important? What am I doing this, and why is it still important to do this today? Quick show of hands. Anyone was at DEF CON last year? Not this year, but last year. Okay, I think one person. So last year at DEF CON, we actually introduced that we don't have a community manager anymore. Unfortunately, James, who was very good at that role, chose a different career path. And instead of getting another community manager, we decided to come up with a team, which is called the Developer Relations Team. And that is the team I'm proud to be part of. And then a lot of people after that asked us, like, okay, but what is this? Why the team? What is it supposed to do? The reason we wanted to have a team is because we wanted to have a different perspective on things. Not just one person, but like many people that can cover different views. And this is a presentation that is being done like third time now. And Jamie did that for DEF CON, then Zeno did that in Spain. I'm lucky to do this here in Italy. And what you will notice is the third version of that presentation. And the reason is every one of us is putting his vision of the community, which is a common vision in terms of Liferay, but we as individuals also have a little bit of a different perspective. So I'm going to show you my perspective by sharing a little bit of my own history and by telling you why it is still important and why it was important for me. So allow me to take you on a little time travel back to year 2009. Do you remember what important happened in year 2009? Well, Barack Obama was elected as the 44th president of the United States, but that wasn't that important. That's the important thing for me. I created a Liferay Maven SDK. That was the time everyone was building Liferay project with Ant. And I wanted to use Maven, and no one cared about Maven. Liferay didn't care about Maven. So I was like, okay, no worries. I'll build my own thing. So that is Liferay 5.2, by the way. So I came up with a solution. Turns out two other people at Liferay were having the same problem, namely Mika Crivesto and Tiago Moreira. So we got to know each other. We got to discuss about things. We got to discuss about how to approach the Maven stuff. Eventually, in some future releases, Liferay had a Maven support. It wasn't the one I did, but it was solving the same problem. A little more of time traveling, 2011. You remember what important thing happened in 2011? Well, at CERN, they discovered some particles can travel faster than the speed of light. And obviously, that's not that important. That is important for me. I built this thing called multi-device extension. I was dealing with customers who actually wanted to present content differently on different mobile devices. Liferay didn't have that. I asked around, no one cared about that. So I just sat down and wrote it. And what happened next is I got to know people like Jorge Ferrer, who was pretty supportive. He connected me with another person at Liferay, Mike Han, who actually was even more impressed. And then they took it, and it's now part of Liferay. And again, this is not something that was easy, but I needed to do it because I was needing it, and I just wanted to share with people. And I got to know someone at Liferay, which was pretty cool. 2013. What important happened in 2013? I'm going to spare you now the non-important part. The thing is, one important thing happened in between. Since 2012, I became a Liferay employee. And now you may think, well, things have changed for you, right? Because now you are at Liferay, now you can do things. Well, here's a secret. Not being part of engineering team of Liferay means it's as hard to contribute as if you are not working for Liferay at all. So 2013, I was working on Elasticsearch stuff because I needed it. I presented at some point that the engineering was like, yeah, it looks interesting. They forgot about it. presented it at GS. GS said, yeah, it looks interesting. Forgot about it. And then several months later, it turns out, oh, well, we now need to have a Elasticsearch as a out-of-the-box search engine. 2015. This was the year for me when I started playing with Docker. And then obviously the Liferay CDL tool that I created wasn't that successful, probably dead by now, but it started to introduce the idea of running Liferay inside Docker. And as you may know, today Liferay is heavily working on Docker support. So 2017, what is the craziest thing that I'm doing now? Well, I'm working on some WeDeploy stuff. Again, Maven related. Again, Java related. And will that go into the WeDeploy official? Probably not. Then why I bother? Well, because as a Java developer, that's what's important to me. Why am I telling you all this? I know by now you're like, oh, give me the break. They gave you the stage and you're bragging about like stuff that you do. No, it's not about me. It's totally not about me. It's about you. It's about you because you can make that decision to either fit in or stand out. And you can be doing this stuff today. You can figure out what matters to you, and you can do it, and you can influence the direction in which this product and this company goes. If I can do it, whether being a community member like you are today, or being part of the company but not part of the engineering team, then you can do it. You can do it as well. But it's not just about doing things. It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see. So if you see the future, then you go by all means and try to achieve it. What's going to happen is what Liferay is going to follow, it may not be your solution, but it's going to go in the direction that you want it to go. And you can make that, we can make that change. And so when we look at Liferay, we look at today at something like this, which solves the digital experience problem, or at least that's what it tries to do, and that's the direction we go. And we're very proud of that. We managed to come to that far to actually solve real business problems. We actually proud of ourselves because we have this like very beautiful thing that we built, and we paid very attention to details. Like we have HR, we have sales, we have engineering, support, all kinds of things. And all those are needed for this beautiful thing to function properly. And there's one more thing that we need, which is you, the community. And that is why it is important. Without that, that thing still has some glitches, and we want to fix that. We want to put you in the front seat of where we're going. And we need you to actually be willing to be part of that journey. And this is because we've always been about open source, and we've always been about developers. We've always been about helping people be more productive. And even though today we are an enterprise, a company offering an enterprise software, solving an enterprise problems, we do understand we alone are not going to solve all the problems and all the challenges. We still need other people with other areas, with other competencies that can help us out. And the reason we open source, there's many reasons, but I like that quote from Linus Torvalds, who says that in the open source, we strongly believe that if you really want to get something right, you have to have a lot of people involved. And that's basically what it is. We believe in open source, but how do we, we did some stuff that may make you think that, well, that's no longer the case. So we're trying to fix that. And one thing we did is we created this video. How many of you have seen it, by the way? It's on our new website. Just a few people. Well, if you go to community.liferay.com, among other things, that is what you're going to see. That video is an interview with Liferay employees and their attitude to open source. It's not, trust me, it's not directed in a sense that they were not told what to say. It's their honest belief. And we all are about open source. And this is the reason for that. That was the reason we created a new website, which is the community.liferay.com, which combines everything that Liferay does, every single product, every single project in one single place. So one of the things there is the recent news. We've historically used blogs to announce stuff. We now have there the recent news section where we're hoping to kind of standardize on announcing new things. So if you want to be up to date, this is probably one thing that you should subscribe to. You see that there's quite a few news already. The other purpose this website serves is to have all the projects that are in Liferay in one place. As you can see, we already have quite some projects. A lot of them are into the front-end space, but we still have things like WeDeploy, which is more of a cloud, and so forth. And we didn't want to actually have people have different experiences, because they sometimes go to a website and then don't even know it's by Liferay. So we put all this into one place. So you can now have the full picture of what Liferay is working on. And when you click on a project, you can see the project page. And the project page gives you a very handful of useful links where you can go. And it also gives you people's Twitter accounts and blogs who you can follow to even learn more about the particular project. And then you click on the website, it actually brings you to the real website. That's the Liferay portal website, which is going to change. You may know that as a devliferay.com, the place for documentation. We're actually trying to make that a real website for the portal platform, for the community version, that you can actually feel like that's a real product website. We also have other websites. That is WeDeploy, for example. And that's particularly the documentation of WeDeploy. And one thing that happened when we were building this thing is we realized it's actually nice. It's actually nice documentation. It's a nice way to present documentations to users. And we get a lot of positive feedback about how that works. So you can rate things, you can actually contribute, you can search things. So this turns out to be very useful. And other sites followed. That's Metal.js. That's Alloy Editor. As you can see, they all use the same technology to show documentation, and that is thanks to another technology that came up at Liferay, which is Electric.js, which allows you to build sites like this and provide documentation to your projects. Well, then you go to dev.liferay.com, which is the documentation for the portal, and you notice it looks a little bit different. And now the question is, well, which one's better? Well, guess what? What we're trying to do next is we're actually working with the documentation team at Liferay. We're trying to combine those two to get the best of both worlds. So we want to have this type of documentation, which is verbose and very nice and very deep, and combine it with the Electric.js, so we get the nice UI and all the dynamism that Electric offers you. And that's one thing we've been working on for the last, I don't know, month or so, and expect changes in that area very soon. But we also have now tutorials, like video tutorials on the documentation. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of that. Well, there are not that many yet, but this is about to change as well. We're going to have more and more of those. So that's about tools. Like, one thing we think at Developer Relations is giving you the tools so you can be more productive and gather knowledge. But what is important more than tools is personal contacts. And that's one thing we've been trying to encourage people to do more often. And that's why we started this initiative known as Liferay user groups. Now, you may know we already had user groups at the liferay.com, but they weren't too active. So this is what we call user groups 2.0. We're trying to actually rebuild that initiative, trying to get people together to actually work locally and help each other locally. And as you can see, we already have some user groups in here. This is the first page we come up with. This is going to be improved. It's going to look much like this, or even better than this, because all those groups are actually handled by Meetup. The reason we choose Meetup is a lot of people already have Meetup accounts, and they already use Meetup for other local gatherings. So we just want to follow what's easier for developers. So we already have 11 groups and close to 1,000 members in those groups all over the world. And one thing you should notice in here is there is not a red dot over Italy. And take that as an opportunity. If you want to see that on the meetup.com, it's /pro/Liferay. And this is, for example, how user group in UK organizes themselves. You can have like a meetup, so and the people sign up. This is the nice functionality that Meetup gives you. So at that point, what I'm trying to tell you is you can do the same, whether that's the Italy user group, whether that's Rome user group, whether that's whatever else that makes sense for you user groups. Go ahead and do it. Think big, act small, but do it now. When you organize locally, you can help each other much, much more than any tool we can provide can help you. And obviously, we, the developer relations team, are always here to help you. But what if you can't? What if there is no community around you? Like, what if there is no interest? So being alone does not mean being lonely. We just launched a couple of months ago this initiative we call Liferay Chat. Liferay Chat is actually a Slack that is dedicated to community to get together online. And by now we have like I think over 600 people in there. So if you are not there yet, this is the place to be. Community.chat.liferay.com. You're gonna have to send yourself an invitation and you get right in. So when you have a local user group, we also give you a channel on the community Slack channel to have a communication for your group only in your own language. Now this, for example, is the Spanish user group, and they have a channel where they discuss things in Spanish. One important thing about that chat is to get to know how it is used. So if you look carefully, we get stats over time. 60% of the communication that is on that Slack channel is direct messages. So we're not trying to, that's not a free support by Liferay. That is free support by the community. That is, you give back, you help other people. And we're very proud, actually very happy to see that 60% of the communication is people talking to each other directly, which means people want to share experience, want to help each other. Also, people tend to use the chat as a replacement for the forums. And this is something we discourage. And actually, if you know Slack, you know that it, by default, the free version has a limit to 10,000 messages. We could have get the version that doesn't have the limitation. But when we're brainstorming about it, we thought, well, that's actually a good thing. We want to limit it because we don't want that to be the replacement for forums. Chat is for like talking. People are always encouraged to go to the chat and drop a link to their question on the forums. But the forums remain the main place to ask technical questions just because you can search through that and you can find that question a year from now and still benefit from the answer a year from now. So that's general Liferay community, and that's across all projects at Liferay. What about the portal itself? I know many of you are mostly concerned about the portal because this is what you've been using, and this is probably one of the main reasons you're here. Well, there have been issues with the portal, and you may remember that we released GA3 in August, and then we kind of had whatever 10 months. I don't remember how long it was without the Liferay release, which actually made some people quite unhappy. Well, we ended up releasing GA4, and not that long after that, GA5. But the thing remained. It's like, well, you guys are unreliable. Like, sometimes it's a 1 month, sometimes it's 3 months, and sometimes it's 6 months, and sometimes it's we don't know how long between releases. So I have a news for you. We're planning to release Portal C quarterly. So that does not mean we will definitely do it, like for, the product is not ready or it's all broken and we release it just because we said we do. But we do our best to give a new release every quarter. And that's the condition is that has to be a good release, right? So we want to be on time, but we also want to be a high quality. You've heard the news. Brian talked about it this morning that clustering is back at Liferay 7. I hope that's gonna make people happy. Those of you who needed clustering, I'm not gonna talk too much about that. I think we already said everything we could say about it. Then there is another thing. We split the portal into a bunch of modules. As a matter of fact, the moment this screenshot was taken, it's 97 of them that starts with com-liferay. So when you have a modular software, that's good. That means you can compose things out of modules and you can move fast. But when you want to contribute to a modular software, that is a problem, because which repo do you contribute to? Where is the thing that I'm looking for? That is a new problem that kind of showed up with the split of the portal into individual modules. So one thing we worked on is to provide the new contribution guide, and this is already on GitHub from quite some time. So this gives you the insights of how do you contribute to Liferay. It explains to you what you should do, how do you get the whole thing together, and to which repo you need to send your pull request, and so forth. So hopefully this is going to be make things much more easier for those of you who wants to contribute. And another thing we've seen is this. Probably familiar with that with your own customers. So one thing we realize is that we actually are quite proud of our community edition, of our portal, but we don't use it anywhere internally. So when someone says, well, community edition is broken, we're like, maybe, right? So with us, to put it in other words, we don't drink our own champagne. And we thought we need to change that. So one thing that we plan to do, or the developer relations team, is to actually use Liferay Community Edition for the projects that we're going to maintain, and that is blogs and forums. We're looking at the major upgrades for blogs and forums, and we are actually planning to run this on Liferay Community Edition. And the reason for that is we want to be able to deal with the exact same thing that people who are using Community Edition deal. So we can actually see things, see production issues earlier, and try to help fixing them as soon as possible. For those of you who've been long enough with Liferay, you may recall that we had a bunch of programs that kind of paused the moment James left the community. One being the community expedition. We also have the bug squad. We have a bunch of other. We are currently thinking about how to bring those back. One thing that's definitely going to come back, and Jamie is already working on that, is the community expedition. We definitely want to have another community expedition for Liferay 7.1. And we're also trying to figure out which of the other initiatives make sense, in what form or shape they need to be back. So if you have any preferences, if you knew that, oh, this was cool and I want to do that again, please let us know. We're happy to hear your feedback. What else will change, you may ask? Well, we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know what to change, and in order to decide, we actually need to figure it out. And one way to figure something out is to measure it, right? So we want to actually be able to not only introduce new things to you, but we want to be able to tell, well, does this make sense? Does this, what we introduced, is actually in any way helpful, right? So we have this. We use Bitergia, which tells us how different aspects of community are doing. So as you can see here, we measure stuff on Git, on GitHub. We measure Slack. We measure Stack Overflow. We measure meetups and all kinds of things, trying to figure out, are people actually using this? Is this in any helpful? So Jamie built that dashboard, and then we all look at it and said, well, actually, there is no secret information in here. So it's all available to you. We're fully transparent. If you want to see what's going on or how an initiative is being successful or not, just go to community dashboard, liferay.com, and you can actually see that. And we actually use that to select this year Community Contributors of the Year, which were announced at DEF CON and then at North American Symposium. We also use that to select the Community Excellence Partners, which also were announced at those two events. And we also have a community metrics in Jira, and that's issues.liferay.com. There is another dashboard here, which is a detailed dashboard about the actual issues and how we are doing in terms of solving community issues, who was reported and so forth. So that's also available for you. You don't have to do anything special. Yet those are just numbers. We can look at those. We can see the numbers. And we can make up, we can interpret them, but we are not 100% sure we interpret them right. That is why we need you. We need you to tell us what's working, what's not working, what you wish was there, what you wish could change. So we have this developer relations at liferay.com. That's an email that goes to every single member of the developer relations team. So anytime you want to tell us something, and you don't want to use any of the other channels that we've introduced, you can use that email address and tell us directly, hey guys, I want this, or wouldn't it be great if, right? That is your communication channel straight to the developer relations team, so please use it. But why? There is this proverb saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you're going to go far, go together. If we want to go far, we need to go together. We as a company, you as a community, we need to go together into the place that's better for all of us. Thank you.